Welcome to the Feel Better, Live Better podcast. Our goal is to provide you insightful conversations about all things health and wellness. We dive into the stories, science, strategies that help you optimize your well-being, physically, mental, and emotional health. Each episode features engaging discussions with health experts, real-life success stories, and practical advice to empower you on your wellness journey. Whether we're breaking down the latest medical advancements, exploring holistic health solutions, or chatting about everyday habits that make a difference, our goal is simple: to help you feel better and live better. Tune in for inspiring narratives, expert consultations, candid conversations that bring health to life, one talk at a time.
If you enjoy our podcast, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all of our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. See the show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading news.
Welcome to the Feel Better, Live Better podcast. My name is Kristi Fury. I've been a family nurse practitioner for greater than 18 years. Today, we're going to be talking to Veronica Castillo, who's a registered dietitian. We're going to be focusing on protein, muscle, nutritional health for all health-related needs.
Beyond Health is dedicated to helping patients achieve a life of health. Our passion at Beyond Health is transforming your health so you can live the very best life. Beyond Health can be your partner in your journey to optimal health.
Hi, Veronica. Welcome to our very first podcast. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
I'm Veronica Castillo. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm a part of an athletic performance training facility, Athlete Ready, but I also lease an office in your building at Beyond Health.
So today, our goal is to focus on how vital nutrition is to help someone create truly a life of health. So we will be focusing on the nutritional aspects as it relates to several other areas of health. So first, Veronica, let's talk about the role of nutrition in balancing hormones. As when you're seeing clients, how are you helping someone that is really wanting to better their overall, not only hormonal health, but also overall energy, sense of well-being as it relates to nutrition?
Well, more often than not, by the time people get to me, they've kind of already been ping-ponged around to, kind of through our typical channels. And it's usually an aesthetic goal, but I think their biggest worry and observation is they're noticing that they're seeing a huge decrease in their energy. Decrease in their libido. They're having foggy, like they just can't really retrieve words like they used to, just not as sharp. But also, from the aesthetic standpoint, they're starting to notice, I just have this unexplainable, weight down here. No matter what I do, and of course, we know that the social media is probably one of our unfortunate and fortunate resources for health information. And so they'll try, the fad diets because, whenever we look at statistics, I think by the age of 26, most Americans will have already tried 12 fad diets. And do fad diets work? Yes, they do. You'll lose the weight and you can just do it over and over and over again, but it's not sustainable. And so a lot of times whenever I get folks, they're just trying to figure out what do I need to do? Maybe I'm just eating too many carbs. That isn't the case. After I kind of take and make an assessment of their lifestyle, see what they're doing. And if they are doing they're eating the food accordingly, living very balanced. If they're moving around and, have resistance training regularly, consistently, then that's whenever I kind of call into question, what does your biochemistry look like? And perhaps we need to get in another set of eyes, someone like you. And that helps me do my job better because, I can nutrition someone only to a point. If you don't have the biochemistry available to, process sugars adequately or, your muscle building process is just really waning from, a lack of testosterone or progesterone or whatever's going on with you, then that's whenever we have to get the team effort going.
So you've hit a couple of really important aspects that I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into. One being that hormonal decline, which, as you know, that's the majority of patients that when they first walk in that door to see either you or myself, they're presenting with symptoms of hormonal decline, like fatigue, like sleep disturbances, that unwanted weight gain. So let's talk about the approach from a sugar perspective of how when people are consuming more sugar than what they're needing, especially when hormones are starting to decline at that age of 30 and 40s, and then for sure into the 50s for males and females.
Well, another observation that they'll find is I'm just craving sugar all the time. I can't eat enough of this, or this. And even if they are appropriately filling in the gaps with, let's say their protein, their carbs, and their fat balance, if you become insulin resistant, then yes, that is going to cause your pancreas to start producing more and more insulin, which what does that do? That causes us to hang on to a lot more glucose, our blood sugar. And so we know that if we have higher blood sugar, that's going to promote fat production and also hanging on to fat, which, thus explains that lower belly fat, because that's typically where you're going to see the distribution. It's through the abdomen. A little different between men and women just because of the hormonal differences between us. But yeah, if, you don't have the biochemistry on board to help in, that insulin sensitivity ratio and behavior, then there's not a whole lot we can do too much from the food standpoint. But that is also another point of, we can look at it from an aging perspective, but also the lifestyle perspective, because it's not limited to just individuals, for women especially, like whenever we're in that perimenopause realm, or men whenever they hit, I feel like it's usually whenever people hit 50 or 60, that's when they start paying attention to it. And that's because it's being thrown in their face. Yes. But truly, at age 30, that's when it hits us. But there isn't enough education or knowledge on it, or at least not out in, the broad spectrum of, I guess, what the interwebs, Al Gore's internet.
So one of my sayings that I say countless times throughout the day, that because I get asked, even though I'm not a dietitian like you are, but I get asked about nutritional every day, almost every appointment. And because what is surprising to me is there's so many Americans that are really confused on food of like, yes, they know what food is, but what is food?
Yeah.
And so I always kind of the analogy I use is if it's not picked, pulled, or killed, we probably shouldn't be eating it, but it sticks with the person, right? Mm-hmm. And then, the other thing is like if you have to open up a bag of something or unwrap something, we probably shouldn't be eating it because of that process. Mm-hmm. So a question I have for you is when you have someone that comes in, let's talk about, overweight, because sadly, a lot of people come to us a little, maybe, varying, but overweight, 5-10 pounds, all the way up to, as you know, sometimes a couple hundred, sadly. Do you think it's more important to address the sugar inflammation or focusing more on protein? And I know that's not an absolute. I just like.
Well, really both. After you kind of take, I guess, the inventory of the individual's life, it's pretty easy to identify what the big offenders and key players are and aren't. And, to your point, it's a lot of packaged stuff. And, I get it. You have to get it. Yes. Being parents, it's hard. You're just
surviving.
Getting your butt kicked throughout the day at work. And then, but also as adults, we will succumb to opening those packages ourselves and eating those. And so, yes, there's like the sugar, like refined sugar component, but I think because there's such a huge lack of nutrition knowledge, people hear sugar and they think candy. And also for some reason, bread. Bread isn't bad. I mean, a good quality bread goes a long way. But I just think it's silly that, unfortunately, I think it's great that they're asking you for nutrition help, but you are an astute provider who will defer to someone who knows, but also you do know. But
I
unfortunately,
just use my analogy: picked, pulled, or killed.
Yeah,
and
if it works, it works.
They usually get a little chuckle, and then we could redirect, and then we move on.
Well, because nutrition is the subject of it is very heavy. It's very heavy, and it does cause people to feel very insecure. I mean, the first thing that I hear, no matter where I'm at in like social settings, it's, if there's food present and it's like, oh, you're a dietitian. Oh, I'm being bad. Or I don't usually eat like this. Dude, I don't care. You're a human. I'm a human. We're just living the human experience.
Yes.
But I think, in terms of educating patients, which is like, whose job is it for patient education? Really?
Yeah.
Because does it have to be that they have to hit us at rock bottom and it's like, all right, let me just backlog all of this knowledge into you. We got to be doing this getting ahead of it.
Yep.
It's all preventative.
It's that team. I think that's one reason why you and I work so well together and almost seamlessly, because you need me, I need you to really have a patient move in that forward motion to creating life change for them. You also, another great topic as far as protein. So as you know, muscle is our biggest wealth. And so many people do not understand intentional protein and how important it is having a good daily amount of protein for brain health, for energy, just to feel good. And then since it's Valentine's Day, for libido. I mean, protein is needed to have a healthy sexual life. So curious as far as how do you educate your clients on protein and what is good protein for them?
Well, high quality protein sources, the easy ones are animal-derived sources, like lean proteins like chicken breast, turkey breast, sirloin, beef, pork, all of those things. But not everybody is so keen to eat a lot of animal. And so, you have to also find other tools to put in their toolbox, because that's usually where most people are lacking. That and the behavioral that's kind of an aside, and we'll return there. But from the protein and quality sources, even just doing Greek yogurt. Supplements are good and they're a great tool, but they by no means should ever be a replacement. They're not going to be as bioavailable as whole food sources. And, whenever you start with someone in a nutrition program, a big part of it is you start them from where they're at. But you try to bring it back and simplify things because, again, people want to 180 their life, because I'm motivated right now and I'm ready to change. It's like, all right, well, I see based on this food log you gave me of your, day-to-day activity and what you're actually ingesting, you're getting maybe 40 to 60 grams of protein a day.
And sadly, that's what the average we're seeing, correct?
Yeah. And then it's like, but you're a 200-pound man.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, so then you just try to shade it in. It's layers. You just have to, it's like croissants, layers of butter.
Yeah. So let's talk about, especially that in that 50 and 60, and sometimes sadly even earlier now because of our food sources, what muscle wasting really means from a nutritional standpoint. Like how, when we start seeing a patient that truly has that chest muscle wasting, that upper body muscle wasting, I mean, to me, when I see a patient that walks in the door like that, it's game on for me. Like I'm trying, because I understand what that's going to lead to. That's going to lead down more cognitive decline. That's going to lead down to more higher risk of injuries and falls. And then sadly, the vascular inflammation that creates from a heart disease. So let's dive a little bit deeper into like, how can we help educate clients, patients on the importance of that protein so that we can prevent that muscle wasting forever occurring?
Yeah, and typically what I think people will, there's a big, I shouldn't say a mixed diagnosis or overdiagnosis of sarcopenia. And, the number of men, women I've spoke to, it's usually mostly women. And like, well, my doctor said that I have sarcopenia. But really, is it sarcopenia or anabolic resistance? Because we know that as we age, then our cells are going to have a little more difficult time, processing, due to hydration. People just don't drink enough water. And then the electrolyte balance. But again,
that's
aside. An aside. But whenever we look at muscle protein synthesis, it's like, okay, we need enough protein material in order to build muscle, build a house. You can't build a house out of like 4 2x4s. You need to have everything there in order to make it happen. And so think of it in terms of, we have this structure, our skeleton. We need to be able to hold it up. I mean, from the mechanical component, period.
Just to live.
But we know, especially for women, as we age, our bone density isn't doing us any favors.
Nope.
We're just
especially without hormones.
Yes. Yeah. Again, side. But we do know that if you start to and eat enough daily protein just for muscle maintenance, that's going to do so much for your energy. It's going to help with your sleep, but also it's going to help with those cravings, those end of day cravings. I don't know, after dinner, I just want something sweet. It's like, well, and again, circling back to the insulin resistance. Again, we can keep on with, filling in the appropriate gaps, but if we aren't addressing the main issues and concerns, then it's like we can only nutrition to a point. And so with protein, as we age, our protein need does increase. And again, why is that? Well, it's because we are getting, this is like probably one of the only times that I'll accept you're getting older, dismissal, but it's not a dismissal in this regard. This is just an explanation so that people can understand their bodies as we age. Yes, we are not going to work as optimally whenever we're going through puberty. Like we are burning furnaces right there. But whenever we are aging, then we know, okay, some cellular respiration, it's not cooking. mTOR, mTOR is just not, as efficient. So we need a little more material so that it can really process it and get protein synthesis going.
So let's give our viewers just an idea of like how much protein should a person consume. I always use, but again, wanted your input, a gram of protein per your ideal body weight just to maintain. How do you educate your clients?
Well,
and then again, that's from my simple not being a nutritionist.
And that's far more sound than other recommendations I've heard. Whenever we look at USDA recommended daily allowance, it's actually very conservative. Once upon a time, I think it was at 0.4 grams per kilogram, which is nothing. Like, holy smokes, that probably wouldn't even make up maybe a third of my weight on a good day. But how are we supposed to maintain muscle with that? So for maintenance, 1 gram per pound of body weight. Okay, well, nuance. What if the individual is overweight? And what if they don't really have a realistic expectation set for themselves? It's like, well, whenever I was in high school, I was 120 pounds. It's like, well, right now, right now you're 220. So, which is why like the InBody, incredible tool because first of all, it gives patients something that's tangible, but also it gives us so many values that we can break down. It's like, okay, this is how much of your weight is this, and this is how much of your weight is this. And if you are able to show them how much lean body mass, i.e. muscle mass, then it's like we have to shoot for bare minimum this. But that's bare minimum because realistically, they're not going to be 100% muscle, especially if they're hanging out at like 40 to 45% body fat. And so 1 gram per pound of, let's say you're not overweight, body weight, and then 1 gram per pound of body weight of, lean mass that you currently have. And then for performance, because some people, they aren't struggling with this. Some people, your husband, lifelong athlete, and the guy, he is using his body. And so he needs more than 1 gram per pound of body weight.
Correct.
He's needing like anywhere from 1.2. And I've seen most recently NSCA has updated it to anywhere to 2.2 grams. It's, I know, hot dog.
Crazy.
And yes, a lot of people, they're like, there's just no way. There's no way I can, get that in. Well, if you look at human behavior, because let's be real, like I've said to you so many times, the hardest part of working with patients is we're working with humans. Hardest part of working with humans is working with humans. Yeah, if only it was so easy to apply these principles, like the stuff we know, and just like, all right, I'm just going to glue this to you, go, you are successful. No, we have to be able, again, start people from where they're at, but see where their deficits are. And it's usually a behavior deficit. It's our environment, the people we surround ourselves with, and also the things that we keep within our homes. And who doesn't have an excuse? Come on now. Yeah.
So as we need to kind of wrap this up for our viewers, I always like to make sure I give them some little take home. So what is one of the most things that probably you say the most, but that you feel like could be impactful for a client that's coming to you for nutritional advice?
Oh, front load your day with protein, period. Front load. Most people will skip breakfast. I'm just not hungry. I feel sick after it. Find something you can drink that is rich in protein. That is just going to set you up for the day. It's going to change your appetite, your hormone cues in terms of your leptin and your ghrelin. It's going to help your cognition. You're just going to be better for yourself, for your family, for your job, everything. You have nothing to lose and only everything to gain.
And I think for me, it's everybody's wanting, well, what's the biggest longevity hack I can do? What can I do? And I says, honestly, exercise is the biggest longevity hack that you can do for yourself on a daily basis.
Yes, lifestyle.
All right, so we're going to shift gears here and move towards some questions that we've got from viewers.
How concerned should a person be about losing bone density while on a GLP-1?
So I get this question often with the GLP-1s, and it really comes back to dose dependent and are they eating protein and exercising. So at our clinic, we really focus on low is the key with the GLP-1s. It is completely misinformation that GLP-1s cause muscle loss. Where the muscle loss occurs with GLP-1s is when people are on too high of doses and they're not eating their protein. They're not able to prioritize even fruits and vegetables because we've completely wiped out that appetite. So our rule of thumb and our approach is once you feel like 50% of your appetite or that brain-gut connection from cravings has been achieved, that is your dose. You do not keep going up. And if you're getting more suppression than that, then we actually lower your dose dramatically, or we have you stop it for a few weeks because we use the in-body, the body composition scan. I encourage patients to come in here once a month and to do that scan so that we can make sure we're catching that muscle loss if that's what's occurring. And we will have people stop it. And then they will fight you because they like this skinny, fat body that they're in. But that's what it is. And once I say you're skinny fat, they usually they get it. And bring back in the education as far as the importance of muscle mass, the importance of protein, because if we can keep muscle mass and protein up, you're not going to have bone density loss. So a question for you from one of the viewers, Veronica, for your being a nutritionist. What are methylated vitamins versus regular vitamins? Should I switch to them?
So methylated vitamins are really just vitamins that have added methyl groups. So from a bioavailability standpoint, typically they're easier to absorb. We are going to get a little more bioavailability out of them in terms of especially whenever it comes to oral vitamins, because I'm sure, as you know, how much do we actually absorb? And it really just depends on, the potency of it. Is this third party tested? What kind of processing and, has it gone through? But should you switch to them? Individuals with methylation issues, all the way, 100%. But that's not something that is typically detected by a lot of providers. Mm-hmm. I know that's something you know how to do, but I think it is, in most cases, you're going to get more bang for your buck with them.
Yep. And then, so as far as the buzzword, as far as the mTOR, with everybody having this genetic mutation, do you think it's an absolute necessary for them to switch to methylated vitamins?
Yeah, I mean, the leucine especially, that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Is it absolutely necessary? Again, you have nothing to lose, only to gain. Why not?
And they're usually about the same price point.
Yes.
And that's what how I encourage people is I just assume everybody's a non-methylator in my clinic that walks in that door. And we don't sell any vitamins that are not methylated. They're all because the price point may be a few dollars, but for the most part, they're very similar on the other vitamins. So I always like to end with some useful information so that we can empower our patients, our clients with knowledge. And I think the simple message for me would be that I understand this can be very complex, confusing, and overwhelming for so many patients. And then they just kind of throw their hands up and kind of give up on the process, which truly kind of breaks my soul because there's so many resources. And, at the clinic, I've owned Beyond Health for now going on 11 years. And that is definitely a place that we have the tools. We can walk you through this process, walk you through lab interpretation so that those numbers are not intimidating to you. And then using that in-body scan from a body composition perspective, tying those labs with that in-body is truly where we start turning the dial for patients and giving them some simple tools that they can do on their own. And, I always say, like, if you want to have some of the biggest impact on your health, it is diet, it is exercise, it is stress management and sleep. Yes, can I layer it with other fancy tools? And sometimes just even from hormones to GLP-1s, to peptides, to supplementation, absolutely. But a lot of times, if I have a motivated patient, just giving them those simple tools is what I really try to have them take away.
Oh, yeah. And those are the patients, they'll run with it. But I can understand the fire hose that most people will experience.
Yep.
And that's when you break it down to, let's focus on, 3 things. Humans love 3s. And so it's, nutrition, resistance training, recovery.
Yep.
Period. That's your foundation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then exercise. Everybody's always looking for, again, that longevity hack. I get questions, every day. Well, what do you take? And I was like, you don't want to take everything that I take because I take more supplements than I probably should. And the reason, and I'm very honest with the patients. I says, but I can promise you, there is not one supplement, one peptide, anything in this practice that I haven't done myself. And I says, so honestly, the reason why I take so many supplements is because I'm kind of my own guinea pig, liking, playing kind of the science game. But as far as what I recommend to patients, I really try to keep it just simple for them to help set them up for success.
Yeah. One variable at a time.
One variable.
That way it's easier to identify what's working, what's not.
Well, I just want to, as our time comes to the end, I just want to thank you so much, Veronica. You and I have been in each other's lives for many, many years, and I feel like every day our relationship professionally and personally grows. And I just want to thank you for your time. I know you're a busy woman, busy mom, busy career person, and so just thank you for taking time out of your day to come here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Oh my gosh, I'm so flattered.
Yes. and I hope viewers, what you get from this is that you feel better and you live better.